What's up guys, how's it going? It's Kyle Olson here. As you know, I'm a realtor here in Orange County, California, and I have Airbnbs. And I recently watched Rob Build's video, The Fall of Airbnb and the Rise of Interest Rates. And today I wanted to go over what I think about this video and if I agree with Rob Build or not. And Rob Build is an Airbnb guru. He has a great channel, a bunch of tiny homes, and a bunch of other Airbnb investments that do super well. But today I want to talk about why I don't think that Rob Build in this video is correct. I mean, number one, we do have interest rates going up and up and up, and we also have so much uncertainty in the world. And he's right, you can't always be fearful when things are changing within the world. But right now, the real estate market is at a standstill and we're starting to see things change. So I think Rob Build left that out in his video, but let's get into some data and let's go over why I think right now might not be the best time to purchase an Airbnb.
Go out and I could get a 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% return, sometimes 100% returns or 200% returns, depending on what kind of units I was listing, like land bank units, for example. Those have very fast paybacks, and I was making really great money doing that. And if you were to examine the interest rates of my current portfolio, you'd be probably a little annoyed. Casa Conejo, I think my interest rate on that is a 2.75. In Los Angeles, California, my main house, the interest rate on that is 3.25. On my chalet and my cottage out in Gal.
So let's stop right there. His interest rates are so low on all of these properties. He bought them at a great time. Right now, interest rates are a lot higher. Today, they are creeping around 5.83 to 5.74. And you can see the chart up and down, up and down, up and down. This will probably keep going up and down, up and down. But with that being said, his mortgage is extremely low. So even if he's not at an occupancy rate of, let's say, 75%, he doesn't need to have his occupancy rate extremely high to have his mortgage covered in his other expenses. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's get back to the video.
Interest rate on that is 2.75% for 30 years. It's very funny because when I got to 3.25%, I was really annoyed. Rates have gone from, 2.5, 2.75 from when I was first getting started to upwards of 6.
I serve for the place I call home.
I serve to protect those around me.
Skip this part.
I serve
6%. Yeah, I mean, it's probably unrealistic to
That's not right.
or small town or rural town. I mean, if you just look at my favorite 4 places to invest, I talk about this all the time. National parks, state parks, vacation destinations, eclectic towns. I love investing in these spots because they aren't so quite on the nose like other huge metropolitan areas. And a lot of the times, oh man, I didn't even check my hair before this.
My God! Okay, it's happening.
So I completely agree with Rob Build. My Airbnbs, they're outside of a national park, and when I purchased them, the prices were not bad. So outside national parks, although it is a little rural and scary because, like he says, you can't get the best comps in those areas. You just have to believe in the traffic that's migrating to those areas to see the national parks. So that's another way to get into the real estate market without paying extremely high prices in metro areas like Austin, Texas, or Los Angeles, etc.
Philosophies and principles, I'm probably going to do pretty well. But I also have a 14-unit portfolio that will pick up the slack of a swing that I might have taken that didn't pan.
So that's another point I want to make. He has a 14-unit portfolio. He probably makes $1 million a year. So when he's buying new Airbnbs, he's not as worried as a first-time investor like yourself maybe, or someone who just has 1 or 2 Airbnbs and not a stable job. Maybe your job can't pick up those monthly payments on your mortgage if they were not occupied. So that's another thing you need to keep in mind. His other Airbnbs can make up for the lack of income on other properties. And if the market shifts and people aren't staying at his Airbnbs, well, he'll just be fine. And you got to remember too, he's got a successful YouTube channel. He probably makes a couple $100,000 a year off of this alone. So keep that in mind as well.
So far, that hasn't happened. And I guess since I'm talking about finding the deal and the art of the deal and getting into the perfect Airbnb and short-term rental, you just have to know what to do. So if you're looking for guidance on that, if you want the A to Z Look, the point I'm trying to make here is simply this. It's hard to find a very nice cash flowing, high cash on cash return asset right now. And what that means is you are gonna have to spend more time looking for properties. So if you were casually putting offers in for and you haven't been getting them, that means that you're just gonna have to put in more offers. And if I were you, I'd be putting out way more offers. I see so many of my colleagues, my peers, my students that are really just over scrutinizing two houses, and one is a 25% and the other one's a 27%. And they're like, I don't know, I mean, this one has this. Put an offer on both, dude. Like, make an offer. Make an offer. Make an offer. Cash is gonna tank unless you do a cash out refi and you do what I call a burster.
TM, did you just trademark that? What?
Realize that a 25% is still an amazing return. Again, as I always say, a typical long-term rental right now is bringing in anywhere from 6 to 10%, sometimes a 20%, although a little bit more rare. If you're a long-term investor. Why? Who told you that? Not me. I mean, maybe they hear me talking on the channel. And admittedly, a lot of people see my channel and the success that I've had, and they want to replicate that, which is very fair and flattering. But you know, investing in Airbnb 3 to 5 years ago versus today is starting to become more apples to oranges than apples to apples. So maybe let's just dampen our expectations a bit and just understand that we're in a different market today, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of money to be made on Airbnb. So with that said, with rising interest rates, one of the main questions is, should I buy this? And I will answer your question with my own question, which is, does it pencil out? What I mean by this is, if you set your own return profile, if you say, I want to make it 20%, or let's get crazy here, let's say 30%.
So something else I want to talk about is, so Rob's been buying Airbnbs, let's say over the past 4 or 5 years, and everything in the economy has been great. People have had money. There's been stimulus checks, yada, yada, yada. Real estate's always been on the rise. So one thing he leaves out of this video, and a lot of investors forget, is that real estate doesn't always go up. So he talks about buying for cash flow and appreciation, but right now in today's market, I don't care where you live, appreciation isn't guaranteed, and it never is. And with someone like Rob Built, they've only seen the real estate market go up and they haven't seen it go down. So he's seen tremendous gains in all of his properties, which is unbelievable because he can utilize those properties to purchase even more. And that's exactly what he's done. But what a lot of people that you see on YouTube or wherever it is on social media, they haven't been through a real estate market cycle. And what happens in a real estate market cycle is that a lot of people's mindsets change and they don't want to spend their money. They hold on to their cash and people start losing jobs and they don't travel as much. So that's one thing that they're leaving out of this whole video, is that although we can't predict the future, the writing's on the wall right now. We're in a recession or about to be in a recession. And once news outlets continue to put out fear-mongering headlines, people are going to start hanging on to their cash and prepare for the worst. So what does this mean for travel? It means that travel pulls back. If you go 08, 09, 2010, travel's down, everyone's holding on to their cash. Properties go down because people don't want to buy real estate. They are scared for their lives. And right now, we're having tech layoffs. Tech companies overhired in the pandemic because they couldn't get workers. So what did? They overhired, they overstaffed, and now they are laying people off because they see our economy headed downwards. And this isn't to make you fearful of what's going to happen, but it's just inevitable. So I want to just show you the other side. I mean, you have tech layoffs starting right now. Let's go through this really quick. You can see notable companies like Tesla, Apple. This was just, you got PayPal here. Robinhood. The list goes on and on and on, and the list is going to continue to get bigger as there's more fear and as interest rates continue to rise and the Fed squeeze more and more money out of these markets. Let's see how much the stock market has gone down this year. 22%, Dow 17%. And it's only going to get more bloody as the Feds tighten. And I don't want this to happen, but when this happens, a lot of people who have money have their money in the stock market, and when they see their money gone or cut in half, sometimes they sell and they're completely out of the market and they take a loss. Some people hold on and they can weather the storm and their money comes back, or if you're smart, you're adding money right now. But what I'm trying to say is that fear is already here, and people see their stock market portfolios go down. They're not going to be buying real estate. And the next thing that is coming up is real estate. So let's take a look at this article really quick. Investors taking a back seat. Surging borrowing costs and home prices prompted real estate investors to pump the brakes in the first quarter. Many are hoping prices will drop so can get better deals. Still, investors bought a record of 20% of homes sold in metros, tracked by Redfin, as a slowdown in home buying nationwide allowed them to continue growing their market share. So you've got to remember too, institutions like BlackRock, they get better interest rates than you and I. So they're borrowing money at a much lower cost than us. And also they have billions of dollars so they can continue to buy. But you can see with this article and many others, home prices are starting to pull back and there's fear in the real estate market, and buyers are holding on, hoping that they see more of a pullback in real estate. And this isn't to say that real estate's going to crash, but there is going to be a correction. And relating back to Rob Build's video, putting out offers, he mentions putting out offers and price appreciation. That's not always true. You've got to take a step back, and also every real estate market's different, but you got to take a step back and see what your personal situation is. There's been so much hype around Airbnb that the return on investment could still be there, but you're more than likely going to be purchasing a house that has a price that's inflated. And the last thing I want people to think is that real estate always continues to go up as an asset, because that's not true. So here I am today. I'm saying if you can wait to purchase an Airbnb, your time is right around the corner. And if you don't follow Rob Built, go follow him. He's an inspiration. I hope to have a portfolio like him one day, but I'm just going to put that off and stack as much cash as I can right now and hopefully get real estate at little cheaper prices. Another article I want to bring to your attention, aside from the institutions slowing down investing, right here, put out June 13th by Redfin. Another thing you guys need to realize is that real estate takes a long time to switch. It's not like the stock market where it can be down in one day 20%, up 20 the next. Obviously, the data that comes out is lagging, but we do have future indicators we can look at. So here, right here, home buyer budgets flatten, posting slowest annual growth rate in nearly 2 years, and expect this to continue to happen. Of course, last year was crazy for real estate. Numbers were ballistic because of extremely low interest rates. Home buyer budgets are essentially flat from last year, up just 0.3% year over year nationwide in the 3 months ending April 30th, the slowest growth rate since June 2020. That's according to an analysis of the average maximum price set by Redfin.com users in their online home searches. So I know I'm all across the board trying to show you guys some data, but another thing to take into account is inflation. What happens during inflationary periods? People have to pay more for goods and services, and the feds came out saying inflation rates were around 8.23%, something like that. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But as a consumer, just going to the grocery store, I feel like these numbers are a little off. I think that inflation is probably in the double digits. I'm sure you noticed that too, going to the gas station. So people are making around the same amount of money, or maybe a little bit more, but spending more on goods and services, and that really puts a dent in people's wallets, and they need to compensate for that, spending less and hopefully making more. But this does affect people's purchasing power for real estate as well, coupled with higher interest rates. So that's something you need to take into account too. And again, I know Rob Build's video wasn't about taking in external factors besides the, hopefulness of people staying on an Airbnb, and I get that. I'm sure he realizes that there's a lot of other factors that go into analyzing if or when to purchase an Airbnb, but I just wanted to go over these numbers just in case you are on the fence of purchasing an Airbnb. Maybe these different points will alter or just inform you, educate you, and potentially put off your purchasing of an Airbnb, or maybe help you pull the trigger on it right now. So with a 5.2 interest rate, now we know interest rates are a little higher, a buyer on a $2,500 monthly budget can afford a home priced at $427,250. When rates were 3%, a buyer on the same budget could afford $517,500. So prices are still inflated. They're coming back to earth a little bit, but I don't know about you, but you can't find a condo anywhere near me in Orange County for $427,000. Maybe there's one, I don't know. I'll check the market, but you're looking under probably 800 square feet for an apartment at $427,000. So with that being said, you can't afford anything in this market still, and interest rates are going up, so you can't even afford $427,250. Buyers are qualified to borrow less money because of rising rates, which means they're searching for less expensive homes. There's still limited supply and a surplus of buyers, but buyers are pickier now and their budgets are more limited. So that's another argument a lot of people have, is there's not a lot of inventory. There's still 5 million homes missing from the market. Well, what about consumer psychology and homes not being affordable? So if affordability goes away and psychology changes, then the houses on the market will sit there and they will not be bought until they come back to earth and prices decrease. And when people see that happening, people thinking about selling will put their houses on the market, which will create more inventory and not enough demand. So then we have the market shifting. And of course, this is more speculative, but I'm already starting to see this right now. I'm listing a house next week for $1.6 million in my old neighborhood. And just since I've spoken to the sellers, there's been 3 new houses that went up for sale in that specific neighborhood. And that's only going to continue because they're seeing houses at $1.7 million sit there for more than 3 weeks, which indicates prices are coming down. So now these sellers want to get into the market and chase the market and get that top dollar that they no longer can get. So psychology is changing and everything's changing in the real estate market. And this isn't to scare you, but I wanted to show you that right now might not be the best time, and there will be a good time. When there's more fear in the market and we see these prices pull back, then it could be our opportunity to get into the real estate market and purchase Airbnbs in great locations, whether it's outside national parks or in metro areas. You and I can hopefully get a portfolio like Rob built. And this isn't no knock on Rob built. I think he's amazing. I follow him. I think he's great. He's an Airbnb wizard. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. See you in the next one.